Our verse today is Isaiah chapter 12, verse 6. Shout and sing for joy, O inhabitants of Zion, for great in your midst is the Holy One of Israel. If you remember, when the people of Israel were delivered from the hands of the Egyptians, they sang a song of praise to God. If you read Exodus chapter 15, Isaiah 12 is also a song of thanksgiving to God for his deliverance. Isaiah 12 is a very short chapter of only 6 verses. The chapter follows the previous pericope about the return of the remnants of Israel and Judah from exile, Isaiah chapter 11, 10 to 16. The chapter begins with the words, "You will say in that day, I will give thanks to you, O Lord, for though you were angry with me, your anger turned away, that you might comfort me." The prophets all agree that the people were taken into exile because God was angry with them for their sins. But when they returned from exile, they will look back and thank the Lord for saving them. The first part of our verse today says, "Shout and sing for joy, O inhabitants of Zion." The inhabitants of Zion is usually personified as a woman representing all the redeemed people of God. Tzahal in Hebrew is to cry aloud, to yell, hence our translation says shout. Ranan also has a similar meaning, to cry aloud, to shout with joy. We find the redeemed people crying out for joy in the prophets as a response to the work of God. We read, "Break forth together into singing, you waste places of Jerusalem, for the Lord has comforted his people, he has redeemed Jerusalem." Isaiah 52 verse 9. Also read Isaiah 54 verse 1 and Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 14. The redeemed cry for joy for a reason. That is what the second part of our verse expresses. The greatness of the Holy One of Israel is in your midst. One title for God common in the prophets is the Holy One or Mighty One of Israel. Read Isaiah chapter 1 verse 24, 41 verse 16, 49 verse 26, 60 verse 16, and Hosea chapter 11 verse 9. Because of the presence of the Holy One amid his people, so many things happen. They get relief from their enemies because God avenges on their behalf. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 24, chapter 49 verse 26. They will receive favors from other nations who used to oppress them. Isaiah chapter 60 verse 16. God will be a wall of protection around them to prevent further attacks on them. If you read Zechariah chapter 2 verse 5. All the other nations will know and testify that God dwells among his people. If you read Zechariah chapter 2 verse 11, God will take away the judgment against his people. They will fear no evil. They will be filled, and he will fill them with his love. Read Zephaniah chapter 3, 15 to 17. God will not execute his burning anger against his people. He will temper his justice with mercy. We find that in Hosea chapter 11 verse 9. And God will bring help to his people. If you read Isaiah chapter 41 verse 14. These are the blessings we are also expecting from the Lord. During this season, we anticipate the coming of the Lord, the Holy One of Israel, to dwell in our hearts, families, nation, and our world. He is already in our midst doing wondrous work. He has already come in the past. Do we recognize the presence of God among us? When God delivers you from any problem, do you remember to sing for joy? For great in our midst is the Holy One of Israel. Lord, put your song on our lips, for great is the Holy One of Israel, Jesus Christ, in our midst. Amen. God bless you, and I wish you a pleasant day.